going on, people? It's Mr. Do Daily back again with the latest episode of Dialing with Des on the DoreOnTour YouTube channel. Slightly changed time of 9 p.m. Wednesday, rather than being the last word on the weekend. We're here, and I've got a very, very special guest with me, Mr. KC himself, Super Kevin Campbell. How are you tonight, Kev?
I'm good, thank you, Des. I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good. So, for all those looking in, if you've got any questions for myself and Kev, anything to discuss, all things Forest, of course, things are absolutely brilliant right now, aren't they? The Reds are flying, steaming up that Premier League. A bit like back in Kev's days when him and Pierre were banging those goals in the Championship. We're flying up there at the moment. So all things are going well. We've got that League Cup semi-final coming. And, of course, what looks like a really winnable game on Saturday against Bournemouth. Not to forget the great victory from last Saturday. Brennan's double, Morgan Gibbs-White, absolutely brilliant, and two ever-improving fullbacks. You know, all over the pitch, Forest are looking the real deal at the moment. So if you've got anything you want to talk about, please do check in. We'll try and get as many people on as we can, go through as many as the comments. It'll be great to hear what you've got to say. Dore is there somewhere on the admin side of things. I can't believe we've trusted him with that. But he's going through the comments. He's going to help us in that sense. This is just a different version of Dialing with Des, but it's Dialing with Kev tonight. He's the main man. So if you've got something to ask him, anything you want to talk about when he was a player, open mic tonight. Absolutely anything you want to talk about. Of course, before we go any further, just a little bit of the usual stuff. If you enjoy this episode, please do give it a thumbs up. I'd like to do it again at some point, and I don't want Dore sacking me off, ruining his very special guest and his relationship with the big man. So give us a thumbs up. We'd really, really appreciate that. Lots of people checking in already. Lots of comments coming in. Anything you want to add to those, that would be absolutely brilliant. And, of course, Dore himself is striving. He's been working at this for a long time. The original Forest YouTube channel, the original Forest YouTuber. He's got so much enthusiasm and passion for what he does. Let's help him get to 11K. 10.8 at the minute. By the end of the season, I'm sure we can get in there. So if you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. That'll be amazing. And just one quick shout out for my YouTube channel. This is not about what I do. It's about supporting the man himself, Mr. Dore. But if you could be kind enough to find Do Daily, all one word, I'd really, really appreciate that as well. Some support and 1 or 2 views would really, really help me. I've only got a very small YouTube channel in comparison, but it is quite unique, and it's just a bit of positivity and enthusiasm to get the most out of things we do. And for me, this is one of them. You know, talking about football, talking about Forest is where my real passion is, and thankfully I get the chance to do it every week. And, of course, just one other little plug for myself. If you've not seen that interview I did the other day about Forest season with Mark Saggers on Talk TV, I was really proud and pleased with that. Come out really, really well. Lots of nice feedback. So if you can search that on Dore's channel as well. Of course, we work together on these things to try and drive some Forest content for you guys to enjoy. So I'd be ever so grateful if you could check back on that. Dore will be back later in the week. He'll have his Bournemouth preview. He'll have his match day vlog. And I'm sure you'll see a few familiar faces on the post-match reaction. Something that's been introduced recently. I do it from inside the ground. Probably talk absolute rubbish, but there you go. I get another chance to do it on Monday night when I thought about it a little bit more. And I'll be back next week on Dialing with Des after the Bournemouth game. Hopefully 3 more points. Chasing down Crystal Palace, who are in 12th, and looking for mid-table security. What do you reckon, Kev? How's it going? What are your initial thoughts before we get any of the guests in?
My initial thoughts on Nottingham Forest is, especially after the World Cup, gave the squad and the team time to work on things, work on the shape, work on the players. And I honestly believe just before the break and coming through the break after, I think this Nottingham Forest team have really adjusted to the Premier League perfectly now. They understand they can't be, it's not the Championship. You can't be open. You've got to do it. You've got to play from a good base. And I think the team are playing from a really good base, and you're utilising your players in the right way. I think Sergio Aurier has been a blessing coming in. Very, very good. Scored a goal, and he's defended very well. I think getting Brennan Johnson hunting space because of the way you defend deep, and he's starting to understand how he's got to play now, not just staying wide. He's got to come inside and utilize that space over the top. I think Morgan Gibbs-White has proved to be a real difference maker in that midfield as well. Unsung hero. There are quite a few unsung heroes in the side, to be honest. But again, I'm sure we're gonna address all that. But the key is, Des, you're not easy to beat, and you know what? This team looks together. The fans are connected to the team, and you're winning games. I just want to mention one game. Leicester City away. Do you remember how you felt after Leicester away? You kind of thought it was all over?
Absolutely, Kev. We
no chance.
We were probably a little bit guilty of not giving up. I don't think any of us gave up that night, but it looked a long way back from that. And it's proved to be a turning point, hasn't it? It's proved to be such a massive turning point in the season. We all know what was happening with Steve Cooper and the rumours about his job, and then they might be looking to tap other managers up. And he's come through it. He got that support. People at the club have done whatever, I don't know who, but have kept him there. You know, the owners, the owner's son and the chairman and etc. They've made sure that Steve Cooper's still in a job. He's got a little bit of support come in for the guy from Watford. And of course, a few roles have changed, people going out, Dave Murphy notably. But for whatever reason, it's just started to click, hasn't it? I think the point you made there right at the start, we're hard to beat now. You know, especially at the City Ground, teams are finding it. You know, they do create chances. I think I said this on the interview the other day. What Forest are finding is they still have to fight really, really hard to get the points. You know, it's not as if we're dominating games. It's not as if we've had any easy games this season. It's just a case of battling hard. We've got the players to do that. You know, Ryan Yates, Joe Worrell, Bolly, all these sort of McKenna, all these tough players who like to fight up. Sergio Aurier has been a revelation. Yeah. So we've got that, and it's given us that sound basis now, hasn't it, for those good players, you know? And you can throw Lingard into that. He's not played the last couple of weeks, but he's starting to pick up. They're really starting to gel, aren't they?
They are, Des. And you know, I like the unsung players as well, because you've named all the players. The unsung guys who don't really get as much plaudits as your Morgan Gibbs-White or your Brennan Johnsons or whatever. You know, they don't get it. But without them, you struggle. I tell you that much, you struggle. And these guys have done a fantastic job. I'm telling you now, Ryan Yates in that midfield, I think, has gone about his business in a nice, quiet way. He puts himself about in there. And I'm telling you, no team likes playing against him. That's what you need. And I'm not saying he's an incredible player who's going to open up a defense. But, you know, grit and determination means a lot in the Premier League, and he's got it in abundance. And I think he makes a real difference to this Forest side with him in that midfield. Obviously, there's other players who play in there with him as well. But I think Ryan Yates epitomizes the change in Nottingham Forest. And you know what? It's wonderful to see, Des. It's wonderful to see.
Absolutely, especially in being homegrown. I made this point about Brennan and how good it is he scores the goals. But then you mentioned Brennan sort of building on experience. Even Ryan Yates, you know, winning free kicks, you know, getting a bit Premiership.
Getting smarter, isn't he?
You know, and it's these things. I'm sure we'll get back to that. We'll just read a few of the comments out, get a few of the guys involved. Say a few hellos. Chapo says, "Hey, Reds, King Kev and Des, great interview, mate. Thanks for that." Danilo, Who next? Wood, Zapata, Danjuma, Conor Gallagher, Navas. Who knows? There could be a few names thrown about. I won't be too naughty, but the lights are on at the moment at the City Ground. I'm sure I've mentioned I live in the area. I've seen them on tonight, and it always gets my ears pricked up a little bit. Nick says, evening, gents. Great to see Kev back. It absolutely is, isn't it, Nick? Sonny D says, evening, Des and Kev. Evening, Sonny. Nice. We've got Eve. Hello, Des and Kevin. Hope you're both well. It was lovely seeing you on Saturday, Des. Lovely to see you, of course. Lots of the Forest guys now feeling good and meeting up and saying hello at the games. That's what we always like to do. So if anyone wants to say hello, please do. Paul D, thumbs up for Super Kev. And it says, evening, everyone. Evening, Anne. Gary says, evening, Des and Kev. Paddy Irish. Evening, Des and Super Kev. I'd love to know Kev's thoughts on the potential signing of Chris Wood. We'll come back to that. Just running through very quickly before we get some guesting, because it is all about you guys tonight, getting you on to speak to Kev himself. Carol says, evening, Des and KC. There's one here, look. Morning. Anthony says, morning. Chris Woods would be good. Chris, I know he's all the way from the US of A. Nudu Daily, KC Dynamic, duo looking good. We got the good-looking ones on tonight, didn't they, KC?
Kept door off. Keep him in the comments.
Keep him in the comments. Dawn says, super Kevin Campbell. I know she was really excited. A friend of mine is really excited about watching. She met you when you was up last time. Pizzo says, is there white smoke coming from the City Ground tonight, Des? Not white smoke, but there's some flashing lights. Just dropping that in there. So without sort of going through too many of those, I'm going to get the first guest in this evening. The first one we've got is Kieran.
Hello, how are we doing? Yeah, I'm not but too bad. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You got a question?
Pleasure.
Hi, Kieran.
Hello.
What is it you want to talk about, Kieran?
What are you doing?
Yeah, brilliant. All these names like we're linked with, it's incredible. Like Navas, never expected that. What do you think to that, Kevin?
Listen, I'll be honest with you. I think Nottingham Forest now that they've kind of found their feet and established themselves, you're a Premiership side now. You're not just the Championship side who have come up. You've beaten big boys. You've taken the scalp. Your home form's good. You're hunting for mid-table. Now you're a Premiership team, and now the ambition is to make sure you stay there and improve. So that's why you're getting linked to some really good names. It's exciting time for Nottingham Forest, and the owner has got deep pockets.
Yeah,
he can bring some of these players in. How exciting would that be?
Absolutely, yeah. I think now everyone wants to play for Cooper now. Just the difference. Everyone wanted him sacked after the Leicester game, and look how that's changed. Like, we had to give him time, and that's the best thing we've done all season. I can't wait to see us improve more.
Well, doesn't it just go to show, Kieran, that the knee-jerk reaction and losing games isn't nice.
No.
That Leicester game, as Des said, is quite a turning point as far as I'm concerned. But the fact of the matter is, you don't build anything by sacking managers.
Definitely.
Especially when you've got a good one who took you from the pits of the Championship to the Premiership. You've got to allow them a bit of time to breathe and start to understand the Premiership. And look at you now. I mean, wow.
Mid-table team, that's all I can say.
I think we spoke, didn't we, Kev, when you was in Nottingham? We were having a chat and we were looking at Brian Clough's statue, and we was on about some of the striking resemblance that we feel Cooper's got, and we felt then we got something quite special, and that's before he'd finished the job and got us to the Premier League. So you can't underestimate what he's done. You can't quickly forget where Forest were 18 months ago. It's such an improvement, and for people to get a bit too excited with himself when we lose at Man U or we lose at Arsenal. You know, it's really really a bit over the top, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what, Des? You said something before that really made a lot of sense. You said even at home, you still got to fight and scrap and grind for the points. You're in the top division. Everybody's got quality. Opposition are going to open you up. The key is, if they don't kill you, can you kill them? That's the key at the City Ground, because Leicester had some good chances, couldn't take them, and then you killed them second half, especially. That's the name of the game. Until you get to a level where you can dominate, that's the way you have to play. Sometimes, if you're on top, you've got to score. If the opposition's on top, you've got to stop them scoring. So I know it seems a bit, one-on-one type thing, but that's how Forest have to do it, and they're doing a great job.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask everybody, Kieran, tonight. So, second half of the season, League Cup semi-final. Firstly, how do you see that going? And then, how do you see the rest of the season?
Well, my prediction at the start of the season was 12th. So, I think if the way we're going, I think we'll definitely finish probably higher than 12th. I can see us finishing mid-table, just how we're going at the moment. Cooper will definitely wanting us to improve, and that's his mentality, and that's what I love, really. And the League Cup, I think we've got a chance. I think we can hurt this Man United side. I can't wait for it. Anything can happen.
And how do you see that, Kev?
Listen, I remember watching the game that you played at their place up here, and do you know what? They're a quality side, and you're still adjusting as far as I'm concerned. But Forest created some chances, and you got one chalked off because I think it was Bully. It hit Bully and went in.
Yeah, it was offside.
Yeah, it was offside. But I'm telling you now, goals change games, and if you get one back, all of a sudden, it's a massive difference. So, over 2 legs, I'd like Forest to go into the lead, take a lead to Old Trafford.
Absolutely.
Definitely take a lead. I think you're going to need a lead going there. Definitely.
But if we get a lead, and the longer you hang on to it, the more the game gets a bit played. You never know.
They have to open up. Yeah, they have to open up.
Well, thanks for joining us, Kieran. Thanks for opening the show. I'm sure.
No worries.
Kev's enjoyed talking.
Cheers, Kieran. Cheers, mate.
Absolute pleasure, Kevin. My dad loved you when he was a kid.
Nice one. Up the Reds, mate. All the best.
Come on, you Reds.
Cheers, Kieran. Come back in there. That was Kieran opening the show. One of the young ones. When he says his dad used to watch Casey, that makes us all feel old, doesn't it? Because I used to watch Casey as well, and now probably I'm old enough to be Kieran's dad, but that's a bit worrying. We'll leave that one right there, shall we? Just a couple of comments before we go a little bit further. Mr. Dan says Steve Cooper is incredible. Love the man to bits. I echo that. I always have done. Paul says, show the players the video of fans at Leicester Cooper did on Saturday to motivate them. I heard that as well. I saw the interview with Steve Cooper. He said he'd got the video out of the fans singing his name at the end of that 4-0. I mentioned that as well in things I've spoken about. That's something unheard of, isn't it, Kev? Your own fans singing for the manager, 4-0 down away at your local rivals. I'm sure that's not happened. That's not happened too much.
I'll tell you something that's special. That is special, and you know what? For a manager to acknowledge it and to actually use the power of the fans is brilliant. So the players get it, the players understand it, and you know what? It's brought everybody closer together. That's what survival and being in this Premier League is about to start with. It's been 20 odd years, Des, that the club's been out, and now you don't look like you've been away. That's the beautiful thing.
Do you know what's brilliant as well, Kev? On that point I made about fighting and scrapping. Of course it's nice to win football matches at a canter. We all love winning. That's what we're all about as football fans. But sometimes you get a little bit of extra satisfaction, don't you, when they've been battered and bruised. And Ryan Yates, I'm sure Ryan Yates doesn't appreciate it, but when he's got a cut on his head and someone's limping off and the goalkeeper's sort of wobbling around in his penalty area, you know, there's like a weird satisfaction out of those ones, isn't there? You know, when you know you've earned it and really fought for it.
You know what? There's anything you get in the Premier League, unless you're one of the dominant teams, where you're 3-0, 4-0 up with 20 minutes to go. That's a sweet spot, isn't it? But, you know, when you're not that accomplished yet, to win games in the Premier League is hard. You've seen the first half of the season. It's hard to win games in the Premier League. So however you win them, it was sweet. When the second one went in, when Brennan Johnson got the second one, it gives you a bit of breathing space. The crowd could get involved. It's a wonderful feeling.
Well,
so
that was. I'll just sort of go back. I was in the stadium, of course, watching the game, and we won. When we have won, we've won 1-0. So it's great for the reasons I've just said. But having that 5 or 10 minutes with a 2-goal cushion, you know, finally it was just like, oh, thank God for that. But just a comment here from man. We mentioned this about Forest not quite being fully established, but they're unbeaten at home since mid-September. Which again, of course, there was an international break within that. Probably something that helped Forest in many ways as well, that break. I'm sure there'll be a few points made about the World Cup and what happened there. But really, really interesting to see that it's been that long. You know, I can't think off the top of my head who was the last team to beat them.
Was it Bournemouth?
It was Fulham.
Oh, was it? Sorry, that was after, wasn't it? That was the game after. That was what, 3-2, wasn't it?
It was.
Was it 3-2 or 3-1? Yeah. Des, again, your home form is the key. There'll be loads of teams looking at Forest away thinking, we can get 3 points here. We can get 3 points. And now all of a sudden they're pulling the handbrake up thinking, oh, we've got to re-strategize because it's not that easy. That's what you want. You want to be, as Mark says, solid as a rock at home, definitely. And the crowd play a massive part.
Absolutely. Just a comment here from Paul. Evening, gents. Congratulations on the TV interview, Des. Thank you. Really proud of that. Thanks for everybody who's watched it. Great to see people showing an interest in Forest again, and that's more to the point, isn't it? You know, just again, the world's starting to take notice. The Premier League started to take notice. I noticed on Match of the Day on Saturday, Whitey was saying he loves Ryan Yates. You know, we all love Ryan Yates. We all live in a world of Ryan Yates. So finally, people are starting to recognise what's happening at the City Ground. There's 105 people in. Of course, if you've got anything you want to ask Casey himself, please do hit that link.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button as well.
Hit the like button. Come on.
And keep watching. Let's get the next guest in. Of course, it's about you guys getting the chance to speak to Kev himself. Really looking forward to speaking to Chris from Forest All Over the World podcast.
Chris.
How are you doing, Kevin? How are you doing, Des? You well?
Very well.
Good, thank you.
I love the kit.
Winning.
Love the kit.
Well, I was just going to say, Kieran was saying there that his dad's favourite player was you. And I actually bought this outside the stadium after you beat Ipswich 1-0 at home in '97. So it was that season we got promoted. So it's fallen off me because obviously I'm older now. But yeah, how are you doing, Kevin? How are you doing, Des? You well?
Very well, thank you.
We're all good. Forest are winning, and that's all that matters right now, isn't it? Another one to look forward to at the weekend.
Absolutely, yeah. I had a question for Kevin there. It was just that I remember watching a podcast recently with Alan Rodgers, who used to play with you back in the 97-98 season. And he mentioned that after that season, the spine got taken out of the team with Cooper, Stone, and yourself actually got taken out of the team for whatever reason. And that's kind of how we sort of had a bad season after that. Do you think the spine, Joe Worrell, Ryan Yates, Brennan Johnson have stayed? Do you think that's the reason why all of a sudden we've had a bit of a turnaround of form?
I think you've got to add Henderson into that. I think your goalkeeper is very important in that. And I know Worrell's been in and out of the team at times. But I think the continuity, Worrell's back in now. Yates is in. But there's a togetherness. There's a feeling that these boys have come through the ranks. they've got a connection to the fan base, and they'll die out there for Nottingham Forest and the badge. So you know what? That's a really good place to be. You got a very, very good goalkeeper in goal, and then you put the pieces around them. And I like what Steve Cooper's doing with this team. I really do. I'd like to see a couple more come in. Good to see you got Danilo. Danilo was linked with Arsenal for quite a bit. He looks a super player. So you're definitely upgrading the talent level as well. Hey, listen, Nottingham Forest ain't resting on their laurels, mate. They don't want to be down there. They're looking to be up there, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. And just making Yates vice captain and Worrell the captain as well. I just thought it was such a smart decision from Cooper, because he just knows that they'll go into battle for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though they were young at the time, they're 24, 25, he just knew, make those two the vice and the captain, and they'll go into battle for him. Yeah. And what do you think, Des?
I just think it's just all working out, isn't it? You know, we could have. I was worried. I'll admit it. I held my hands up after the Leicester and the Wolves game. You know, it wasn't just Leicester. There was that game away at Wolves where I thought they were poor. We was poorer. You know, we could have got something out of that game. And at the time, I remember speaking to one or two people saying, I felt like Yates, he had an header that missed a bit of a sitter, and we missed a penalty. And it was the kind of game I felt, being 1-0 down, we could have turned it round just by luck more than quality, you know, and that could have been a turning point. But after that, there was a change of formation, wasn't there? That started in the Aston Villa game just before that at home. But then the change of formation, it just really worked out. Forest have gone a bit deeper, which they needed to do, a lack of pace at the back. And I just think they've hit on something now. If I'm really, really honest, I still think there's 3 players missing in the first team. I think 1 or 2 are still being carried along. But that, to me, only tells me that with a few solid signings in January, Danilo in particular, in that number 6 role possibly, this team's only going to get better. If we can fight out results, if we can grind out results, as we are at the moment, and we can still be in games away from home, that's important, you know, because we were 2-0 down before we knew about it earlier in the season. But if we're still in games at half-time, going into the second half, with better players, you know, with more attacking options on the bench now, we've got Scarpa, Lingard back in form. Tyro's picked up massively. You know, I know he's injured at the moment, but there's so many more options. And again, it was key to it. This January window is key to getting first team players in rather than filling out the squad. 3 quality additions for me make this team the best team in the bottom 7 or 8, which
3 starters. 3 starters.
Yeah.
3 starters.
Yeah.
And goals as well, as you know, Kevin, yourself. We need the goal scorers, and our goal scorer Tyro just got injured. Brennan's now coming to form goal scoring, and Chris Wood, it seems we've signed him apparently. So
good player,
and a lot of people don't think he's a goal scorer, but he scored 10 to 15 goals for Burnley 4 seasons in a row. You know what I mean?
Let me tell you something. 10 to 15 goals is the old 20 to 25, because very rarely you get a 25 goal striker anymore. Very rarely.
Except you, Kevin. You were a 25 goal striker.
No, but you think about it, Chris. You think about it. In the Premier League right now, if you can get double figures as a striker, you are golden, because goals are so hard to come by. Chris Wood will score goals. I'm telling you now. If Forest sign him, he will score goals. That's for sure.
I think in Forest formation as well, goals from that role are not always. Don't get me wrong. Ultimately, that's what you want your number 9 to do, your strikers to do. But the way Forest use a target man with the people running off them, goals aren't always the be-all and end-all. We saw that with Keenan Davis last year. And I think so. It's just important if someone like that does come, that we don't get too worked up about his goal-scoring record or his age or things like that. It boils down to me, to that thing about in Cooper we trust. You know, I trust him to make the right judgment for my football club right now. And that's really, really important for me. Just want to pick you up on something, Chris. You said Kev was a 25 season a goal striker. He was a 60 goal partnership, Kev was.
That's true. Yeah, he was.
60 odd. Highest goal scorers in Europe. We were highest goal scorers in Europe. that season.
Yeah,
Is that true, Kev?
I
Is that
remember.
true?
Yeah. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
And then they broke it up, Des. Chris.
I know. Yeah,
It's
I wanted to
madness.
ask you about that, but I thought I'd leave that question
Don't
out.
start
But
that
I
off,
know
Chris.
that
You'll have me
No,
all night.
don't get me started on that, Chris.
don't go down that road. Okay,
What's your
yeah.
dad's name, by the way? What's your dad's name?
My dad's name,
Yeah.
Justin.
Justin. So listen, please give him my regards.
Will do. Yeah, thanks very much, Kevin.
Lovely.
All right.
Lovely.
Des,
Cheers.
yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No, absolutely. And check out Forest All Over podcast. We'll give that a shout
Yeah,
out.
Dore was just on actually. Mr. Dore was on. He was on the podcast there recently, so we're just releasing that. Big shout out to him. He's an absolute legend.
No, he's not. Anyway.
Oh, okay. Well, you are Des, and you are
right,
Kevin.
He can't even get on this show anymore. He's doing the
on
comments.
his own show. He's been. No, we're just kidding. He's a legend. He's sat in the background and laughing his head off. So we appreciate you coming on, Chris, and your input. It's great to see you and put a name to a face. So I'll keep listening to that podcast. You keep doing the good work.
Legend, you too, Des. Kevin,
Cheers,
really,
Chris.
really brilliant to meet you, mate. All right, thanks a million.
Hi to Justin as well. Cheers.
We'll do. Cheers.
Bye.
That was Chris. Great chat there again about Forest season. Really enjoyed talking to Kev. He had that shirt on as well, didn't he? That brings back memories.
That brings back memories, mate.
I've got a question for you, Kev.
Go
What's your favourite memory in that shirt? I've got one that really sticks out.
Bradford away.
That was the one in my mind.
I knew it was. I knew it was, but I knew. Well, I'm saying your one before mine.
Oh, okay.
That was your one. Mine was Crew away.
Oh, I remember that as well.
Yeah,
Did we
Crew
score
away.
4?
I got hat-trick that day, but there was Forest fans all over the ground. It was brilliant. Forest were everywhere that day. Amazing day.
Brilliant. Like Kev touched on, I remember the Bradford one. You and the Bartman.
The Bartman dancing, yeah.
Bartman dancing. And did you play or did Pierre not play?
No, I played. Pierre didn't play.
Pierre
didn't play that day. Yeah.
And
I think we beat them 3-0 or something like that. Beat them 3-0.
And there was all seasons in the day. It was snowing.
Yeah.
It was like
sleet, hail. There was everything. Sunshine. Yeah.
No, I remember that. That's the one. That shirt's legendary, and plenty of legends wore it as well. 108 people in. That's absolutely fantastic. Loads of people enjoying the show. Couple more comments. Kev's been getting all the super Kev. Thanks, Media Man.
Love that. Why didn't you read that out, Des?
There you go, look. Super Des.
Super Des. Super Des. Super Des. Super Des Daily. I might as well call you Daily.
Didn't you used to sort of give that to them when they were singing it? Super Kev.
Like the conductor, yeah? All right.
And I've got to mention it. I always mention it when I see you or talk to you, Kev. The Reading goal. I never get over that Reading goal when you ran onto your own flick on and tucked it in the bottom corner.
Well, you won't see many players do that, Des. That's one thing I could say. Get on their own flick on and score. So
I tell you what, however good Chris Wood is, if he scores a goal like that, he can have the freedom and the city.
Hey, never mind that, Des. What was the biggest moment in that game?
It was the Stoney's miss.
We don't want Chris Wood doing that if he signs. We don't want him putting it over the bar. We want him putting it in the net, mate.
For anybody who doesn't remember this game, Forest went to Reading almost to 2/3 of the way through the season.
Yeah.
Friday night on Sky. Did we go 1-0 up?
Yeah, we were winning. We were winning the game.
We were 3-1 up.
3-1 up at yeah.
Besson got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, referee.
Goal. And Stoney could have still won it, and he put a sitter, one of these, a Ronnie Rosenthal moment, and missed it.
I think it was worse.
I remember the rumor was that day he'd signed a new deal, 17.5 grand a week, and every Forest fan's walking out the ground saying 17.5 grand, wasting money. Oh. But there you go.
Dave Bassett gave him some stick in the dressing room as well. I can tell you that one.
Oh, I bet he wasn't the most pleasant, was he?
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, moving on. We're reminiscing there. We're getting a bit carried away with ourselves. 108 people in, people waiting to speak. Got some other legends waiting in the wings. Just a few comments. There was one there, meant to read it out. Hi, Tones Drifter. Hello from the Nottingham lad in Austria. Hello, Nottingham lad in Austria. Dawn is back. Are you looking forward to Bournemouth v Forest on Saturday? Des, can you remember where you were this season when Forest played Bournemouth at home? Just asking. I think we all know where I was. I was in Trentbridge Cricket Ground getting, well, I'd been married. I was getting drunk on the fact Forest had lost a 2-0 defeat. Anyway, Mark says Noru's getting blown off. I'm not sure what that means. Bezos said Lingard is a massive help, even being injured. His enthusiasm around the club is immense, possibly, and this has even helped sway a few to sign. Absolutely, I believe that might be a big thing. He looks like he's loving life again. You know, he's not played every minute. He's injured. He's not sulking. He's on the bench. You know, the bench comes back as well. The club are putting that out, and you can see what it means to the guys on the bench. Comment here, Justin, love to see Sturridge score. He needs one, doesn't he? You know, and I think it would only take 1 or 2, and it'd be firing a bit more than he has done. Again, a good, honest player, I think, in the same mould as Wood. So, be interesting to see how often he gets on if Wood did come along. But we're going to get another guest in. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to hit the link if you want to come on. The next guest, another legend himself, Mr. Swin from Punjabi Forest. Are you okay?
Des. Yeah.
Hi, Swin.
Good to see you, Des. Hi, Kev. You all right?
I'm very well, thank you. Nice kit you got there. Nice top. I love it.
I thought I'd wear it in honor of you, mate.
I love it. That's nice. I love it.
You've actually signed this shirt.
Fantastic. Well, I love it anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for the invite, Des.
No worries, absolutely. This guy, Kev, he goes to all the away games, and we're always catching up on away trips and talking. He was in Valencia with us as well. We had a tour of their stadium, so he's Forest through and through. What is it you want to talk about, Swin? What?
Yeah, Kev, I'd just love to hear who you think the bottom 3 will be come the end of the season.
Whoa, this season, God, I tell you what, I think it's between about 7 or 8 teams at the moment. Because what we must understand, the form now isn't going to be the form in maybe a couple of months. You know, this last little bit of the window, people are going to have to make some moves. My old club, Everton, they're going to have to make some moves. It all seems as though everything's imploding, but they always seem to get themselves together. Huge club, and I think they will just get themselves out of it again.
Is that you sitting on the fence because you played for them?
How is that sitting on the fence?
Saying they'll get out of it.
That's not sitting on the fence, Swin. That's saying I think they'll get out of it.
Right.
So I think there's worse teams. To be honest, to name them, I still think Southampton are going to struggle. I still do. I think they're in problems. I'm not too sure about Leicester either. And I know Leicester have got quality, but you know what? The World Cup really came at a bad spot for them because they were flying at the time. So now they've hit the buffers. I think it's going to, and then after that, I've got 2, Swin. The last one, it could be anybody because it is so tough out there. As long as it's not Everton and Forest, I'm happy, Swin.
So where do you think Forest will end up?
At the start of the season, I would have snapped your hand off for 17th. But the way Forest are going now, around about where they are to 10th, that to 10th, Forest, if Forest could finish 13th, 12th, 11th, 10th, they've had a great season. Trust me. Yeah, they've had a great season.
Yeah. I had them 15th at the beginning, and I think, I'll be over the moon. Because obviously,
you'd be over the moon with 15th, wouldn't you?
Anything above 17th is great.
Yeah.
And,
17th and above.
I just want to say it's great to see you on Sky Sports. You're still positive about Forest, where a lot of the national media didn't give us a chance at the beginning.
No, but Swin, what you got to understand is this, Swin. Think about it. Nottingham Forest have not been in the top flight for 20 odd years. Why would they give you a chance?
Well, Steve Cooper.
No, but think
Yeah.
about it. Steve Cooper's got no Premier League experience.
Hmm.
So they're not going to stick their neck on the block for Forest, because at the end of the day, the journals and the media, they go with the tried and tested. Now, the key is you've got to prove yourself. I think Forest are winning the media over very quickly with their performances, especially the atmosphere at home. A lot of the pundits and the media are going crazy for the atmosphere at the City Ground, which is great. We know it. We know what it's like at the City Ground. But remember, it's been such a long time since they've actually been at the City Ground that they don't understand it. But now you could see everything starting to change. And don't forget, the name of Nottingham Forest is huge. So you're winning them over in half a season.
Yeah, that atmosphere is like pent-up emotion, like you said, over 23 years. It's all erupting into it.
Yeah, but you know what? Rightly so, Swin. I say rightly so, because Forest should have never been 20 odd years out of the top flight. Never.
Yeah.
But you're back now, and you've got a manager who can not only keep you there, he can improve this thing. That's the key as well. Not just to stay up. He wants to improve you, which I think is huge.
I was listening.
Sorry, just a comment there. Someone's phoned Leicester in, going down no heart. And on the back of your question for Kev, I'm going to ask you, what's your bottom three this season? Who do you think will go down?
Well, I think if Everton, if they keep hold of Lampard, I think they're a good shout to go down. And I think Southampton, and I think Bournemouth. Those three: Everton, Southampton, Bournemouth. I think.
I'll be honest with you, I tend to agree. Bournemouth are the ones in free fall at the moment, and especially if Forest. I'd actually, in many ways, I'd take a point, because I think the points we take are more important than the points we lose at the moment. If you get what I mean, we just need to build that tally. So if we get to 40, we'll stay up. So, but I think if we go to Bournemouth and win, they're really, really in it. And I think Everton with Lampard, if Lampard stays, and one or two injuries in the wrong area to Calvert-Lewin, especially, that they won't have the firepower.
No, they've got to bring firepower in, you see. And this has always been the problem. Whereas he hasn't had the money to go and get firepower. And with, a couple of weeks left of the window, he needs to get firepower. He knows it. Listen, he's fixed the defense. He's fixed the midfield. But if you don't fix the strikers, if you can't score goals, you can't beat teams. That's a big problem. That's what Forest was struggling with at the start. And then all of a sudden, you make a few adjustments and you click and you win a few games. Everything looks rosy. So Frank Lampard, he kept them up last season when they were in dire straits. Now he's got a longer run at it. I think he'll be all right.
Well, you kept him up one season as well, didn't you, with your goals?
Well, it wasn't even one season. It was, I went there 8 games.
Yeah.
That was when there was a March window. You know, I had 8 games with them. So
another point I want to make is the goal is a points tally. I mean, we've got 20 points. 3 teams below us have got 15 points. We're halfway through the season. So, all right, they've got 15. You double that, that's 30. I can see a really low points tally, maybe 35, 36 points.
Could be
very
safe. Low.
Do you know why I think that's really relevant? Because Arsenal are top of the Premier League. Because Man City are going to get lots of points. But for me, I think Arsenal will win the Premier League this season. So you look at Man City and you look at Arsenal and you look at Newcastle, who've barely lost a game, and you look at United on the run of form there, and I think they're winning again at the moment. There's lots of points being accumulated at the top. So what that does, obviously, is strip points off the bottom.
Keeps everybody down, yeah.
So if there's no points available from those top teams, so I think you're right, Swin. I think 34, 35 points might be enough. And when you turn that 15 points, then Forest need, that's 5 wins.
Yeah.
I think Forest win 5 games of football from here on in.
Yeah.
I think Forest got to go to Bournemouth and beat them. Because when they're wounded, you've got to take them out, guys.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity now to go there after our form, how we're playing. We're on top. They're not doing well, but I think the main thing, I think we'll go and try and go for the win. But as long as we don't give them 3 points, we don't want the people around us to take points off us.
No,
that's crucial.
No, you're right. If you don't win, you don't lose.
Yeah.
If you don't win, you make sure you don't lose. You take a point, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Swin.
Right, no problem. Thanks for the invite.
Cheers, Swin.
Cheers,
mate. Thank you.
Sure, we'll see you soon.
Cheers,
yeah, I'm sure you're at Bournemouth on Saturday, aren't you?
Yeah. I'll see you there.
Me and Mr. Dore will see you there.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers. Bye. Just a few points I want to read out. Mark says, easy getting 5 wins. Just what I said. I really think we will. Chapo, we owe them one. We owe them a win after the last few with a built for 3 points versus. I think we do. They come from behind against us on my wedding day, didn't they? You know, and beat us. And then there was the one where they cried off because of the wind. There was a bit of wind on the south coast, although
it was rearranged, wasn't it? It was rearranged,
and then they got 1 or 2 players back and that kind of thing. That's football, I guess. Just a reminder, if you've got anything to add, please do drop a comment. There's 131 people in. Give this episode a thumbs up. We'd really, really appreciate that. And of course, subscribe to DoreOnTour if you're new to the channel. If you want to comment and find different things, there's a couple I want to read out here. I've saved them especially. A couple of Kevin Campbell moments. Tell us your best Kevin Campbell moment, your best memory from when Kev wore the white or the yellow or the red shirt, as we've seen tonight. There's one here, Chapo, King Kev cricket celebration versus Coventry. I remember that was at that game. It felt like the hottest day ever.
Yeah, it did. It felt like the hottest day. It was a really good day, good game, and what a good result. Well, ended up being a good result for me. But we had the celebration. I think we done cricket, darts, and David Pleat all in one day, so that was good.
Do you want to explain the David Pleat one?
Well, do you remember when I think it was Luton? Luton stayed up. On the final day of the season, and he came running on in his cream suit, and he was like dancing away. That's what we done. We done that a couple of times.
If you don't know what we're talking about,
check it out on YouTube.
Check it out on YouTube, and you're probably very young, but do check that out.
Yeah.
Another one here. The goal against Middlesbrough was special. You remember that? I think that might be the 4-0 game. You remember that day?
Yeah, I remember that day. Big game at the City Ground, and we wiped the floor with them.
Didn't Pierre score from about 85 yards?
Well, he usually scored from about 85 yards, didn't he, Pierre? But we took them apart that day, didn't we? We really took them apart at the City Ground.
Absolutely. If you've got any more memories of Kev and things that stick in your mind, you know, I told you mine. There's a comment I want to read out here. Excellent, insightful conversation. Watching from down under. Thanks for tuning in, Steffo. Really appreciate it. Realistically, I would be very happy to take 4 points over the next 3 Premiership games. Your thoughts? So we've got, correct me if I'm wrong, we've got Bournemouth, and then we've got Leeds at home. Who's after that? I can't think at the moment. But if we can get 3 points on Saturday, we're a long way there, aren't we? And then against Leeds, you never know. That could be about 8-7 on the way things are going at the moment. So, couple
games you want 3 points, Des. In home games, you want 3 points. So, you know, it's so important.
Absolutely. Comment here on Frankie's free to go down.
I like Frankie.
I like that. Southampton, Bournemouth, for Liverpool to go down. That's the best comment of the night.
Oh, brilliant.
There's a shout out for Mr. Dore's diamond button here. Jose says, congratulations on the diamond button. I thought we'd forgot about all of that rubbish. But no, just kidding. Well done to Dore on that. Kieran says, Forest play a lot more attractive football than Bournemouth. 3 points is a must. Dan, NFFC, I'm flying in from Slovakia for the United game. Casey is a legend. I can't get my words out.
He's 11.
Forest legend. Another cheeky comment here about relegation. Bournemouth, Leeds, Fulham, Man City, West Ham. I don't think all of them can go. That's the fixtures, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've lost it all of a sudden. That's the next 5. So I'll ask you then, Kev, from that run of fixtures, do you know the next 5 games? What do you think we can take out of that?
Well, next 5 games, realistically, if you're looking at minimum 7 points, because I think you could beat Bournemouth, I think you could beat Leeds, you can beat Fulham, but that's away. Anything away from home is going to be difficult, whichever way you look at it. Man City, that's always going to be a tough game because they dominate the ball so much. You know what they can and can't do. You've seen their squad is so strong. But you've seen they can have off days as well, Des. You know, they can have off days. So, listen, if you got 7 points out the next 5, I tell you something, I think you go up in the league.
Absolutely. And then you just compare it like we've mentioned, the 20 from halfway through. You're looking at, 27 from 24 games. You know, and again, looking at those totals, what we mentioned, it doesn't leave you very much to do. Sometimes, and fingers crossed it doesn't happen to us, teams that do come up, do fight hard, do play well, you know, they run out of steam a little bit.
But if you put the work in and got the points,
you're
in a better position to fight come the end.
And also where Forest might have the competitive edge is the fact that they're looking to sign better players, quality players, you know, players that are going to improve the starting 11. And that might be the difference from teams that have been promoted and done all the business in the summer. So I'm not saying it's necessarily the best time to do business, but in Forest's case, you know, and the transition they've faced, players coming in at a good time now rather than being thrown in at the deep end earlier in the summer.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Danilo. I tell you, he looks an exciting player. He looks a really exciting player.
Absolutely. So what are you? Obviously, you say Arsenal have been linked with him a lot. What's the...
Arsenal were linked with him for probably the last year. Obviously, because Edu is linked, was one of the main guys in the Brazil national team. So he knows the Brazil market inside out. And this young man was ripping it up, you know, in the central midfield, playing way above his years, real quality. And it seemed as though he was coming to Arsenal. But obviously Arsenal's trajectory now has changed. It's kind of moved forward. They're actually higher than where they probably anticipated they would be. If I'm really honest with you, Des. We love it, but you know, when you're there, the level of player you've got to go and get now, getting a young lad who has got no Premier League experience or no international experience, maybe isn't the right move for you to make when you're actually looking to recruit for a title charge. So I think Forest going and getting him is smart business.
It looks it, and hopefully he's in the first team before too long. I think this weekend might just come a bit too soon, and the fact that Forest are doing well anyway, he probably need a bit of time. I actually looked, his last game for Palmeiras was mid-November, I think. So it would
because they shut down, don't they? Because they shut down. So yeah, he'll let him learn about the club and let him learn, see the sights of Nottingham for a bit.
Okie dokie. So moving on, we'll look to get the next guest in. As ever, keep hitting that like button, keep dropping your comments in. I really love to see those. There's one or two popping up, which I'll definitely ask Kev about. I'm sure he can see them as well. 122 people in. Great to have so many people on board this evening watching. I know there's football on elsewhere, but as thankfully Cal's kept us up to date with the score. A latest one is Palace equalised in the last minute. So there you go.
Wow.
And that just shows the Premier League, doesn't it? You never know.
That is the Premier League, yeah.
You never know. Comment here. This time last season, Newcastle only won one game. Now they've only lost one. Again, it shows, football sometimes it changes on pivotal moments, doesn't it? We spoke about the Leicester game already but it's definitely a case of that. So without any further ado, I'm going to get the next guest in. Good evening, Tillo.
All right, mate. How's it going? Hi, Kev.
Hi, Tillo. You all right, mate?
How you doing, mate? You good?
I'm very good, thanks.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, just funny enough, I was going to talk about Danilo. So you speaking about him before has probably sort of led into it quite nicely, really. So, and I was going to ask, because obviously you seem to know a bit more about him than what I certainly did, Kev. I mean, can you see him going into the starting sort of squad, or not starting squad, but the match day squad pretty quickly? Then can you don't think it's one for sort of like with an eye on next season? You could see him maybe making an impact this season.
Well, Tillo, if I'm honest with you, I think Steve Cooper's got the luxury to ease him in and see what he's like in training. Yep. He's got to adapt. He's got to understand what the system is. He knows how to play centre midfield, that's for sure. He's got legs. He's got all of the attributes. You don't spend that sort of money for a player if he hasn't.
No.
But the way Forest are going now, the team are doing a good job. So he can ease him in. He can keep him on the bench for a little bit and bring him on, get him 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes here and there until he gets adjusted. Yep. I think that would be good management and a good way to integrate him into the squad. But I don't think he's being bought to just keep on the back burner. I think the quicker he can get up to speed, I think the better. Because like I said before, sorry, Tillo, like I said before, Steve Cooper doesn't want to rest on his laurels and just sit and coast. He wants to improve. He wants to improve this team.
Yeah, I think it can help him as well, can't it, with having Gustavo Scarpa there. He's got somebody that he knows who can help him settle down, and so that might sort of help that process. It's not like he's coming in from another country and he's on his own. We've got a nice little Brazilian contingent to help him get settled in. So so no, that's a really exciting sign. Do you guys think we should be going in for a goalkeeper, or would you stick with Wayne Hennessy for the next 6 weeks? Because that's a bit of a dilemma, isn't it?
Just before you answer that, Kev, there's someone there. Look, thoughts on Hennessy, Chapo versus Bournemouth this Saturday. Endo out for 6 weeks. Just going to jump in slightly. I think Hennessy's not a bad goalkeeper. He's not a bad goalkeeper. He made an error at Old Trafford. He did what he did in the World Cup. I thought he did really well for Wales in the World Cup. So I think, me personally, if somebody out of this world comes up on a loan, and somebody you can take, then you go and get them. But I wouldn't be too disappointed if Hennessy played. That's what we signed him for, is backup for this kind of situation. What are your thoughts, Kev?
I think Wayne Hennessy's fine. I don't think he's obviously Henderson is a top young goalkeeper. Hennessy is an experienced goalkeeper. Obviously, we know what the differences are, but I think Hennessy will do a good job. Sometimes the problem with the goalkeeper is they don't get a chance to play the first team enough to get that momentum to get that feeling of comfort in goal. So maybe if he gets a run now, he's gonna be fine. So listen, the way the defense and the team are playing, he won't have a lot to do because I think the defense has been excellent. So,
well, I think he's only going to miss those. He's going to miss those 5 league games, isn't he? Plus the obviously the Man United games, which he wouldn't have been able to play anyway. And I must admit, I know we've been linked with Navas, but I think if we sign Navas, whether it's loan or whatever, what happens at the end of those 6 weeks then? Because Henderson's not going to be a backup, is he? And Keylor Navas certainly isn't going to be a backup either. So that's a bit of an awkward transfer for me, that one, really. So
but Tillo, what you got to understand is saying Henderson's just going to be back.
Yeah,
we don't know. So this is the whole thing. You sign another keeper. You're better to be overcovered.
True.
Than undercovered, if you know what I mean. So if there's any complications or it takes a little bit longer, At least you've got more cover.
Yeah, like near Carty, I suppose, wasn't it? We all thought that was only going to be a month or two, and it's ended up being most of the season. So
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
Exactly. You never know.
It's all going well though, isn't it, Des? At the moment, I mean, coming away from the City ground on Saturday, I mean, I said to Malcolm, there can't be other than Newcastle and probably Arsenal, there can't be a happier place to be. The atmosphere. You've got fireworks going off in the sky. You got singing in the streets. The ground is absolutely bouncing. It's such a good atmosphere. It's such a good place to be. And that's really going to be such a big difference as well, I think, in keeping us up. Because listening to the likes of TalkSport this week, and you've got Everton fan, there's a lot of discontent there. West Ham, a lot of discontent there. And I think that unity that we've got at the moment with the fan base and the players and the management, it's going to take us such a long way. So I mean, I'm really, really confident going forward for the rest of the season. I think we'll be closer to the top 10 than the bottom 3.
What about the League Cup, Tillo? What's your thoughts on that?
I think you've got to be. Obviously, I hope I'm wrong, but you've got to fancy United. But I think, in a way, it's a bit of a good game for us, because when we've gone to City, United, and Arsenal so far, we've looked like a rabbit in the headlights, haven't we? A bit like we've almost beat ourselves before we've started. Now that's a game that because it's a cup game, we're going to have to go there and win. You can't get a draw or anything like that. We're going to have to go there and win, and that mindset could do us a lot of good going forward. Whatever happens on the night, that mindset of having to go to one of the big guns and have to go and get a result could be really sort of beneficial for our development process this season back in the Premier League. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope we manage to get through. I do think United will, but I think we can do ourselves justice.
I think it's an interesting fixture, isn't it? Because the last time Forest got it wrong, or the last bad game was United at Old Trafford, and there were lots of people questioning Cooper again. We lost the game, for God's sake, sack the manager. But there was lots of people. But Cooper come out after that game, didn't he? And he admitted some naivety within the team.
Yeah.
And the way they'd approached it. So it'll be really interesting going there again to see how this team, because it was only a few weeks ago, we're talking 3 weeks, and it's so much different now, isn't it?
Yeah.
This team from 3 weeks ago, lots of fixtures in that time, lots of cup games and games that have got us on the front foot. It'll be interesting to see how they go and approach it next time, especially if they're taking say it was 0-0 or 1-1 in the first leg, and we're going there on a clean slate. I think it'll be really interesting to see how Forest set up.
Yeah, it will be.
For a purist like I like to think of myself, I'll be watching to just see how it all pans out.
Yeah.
Great input, Tillo. Always good to speak to you, top man, and I'm sure I'll see you soon as well.
Yep. Pleasure to speak to you, Kev.
Cheers,
Pleasure
Tillo.
to speak to you, Des. Take it easy, guys, and speak to you again.
Cheers, Tillo. Just a couple of points I want to sort of get through in these comments. NFFC 1865 says, next man up, he should do well knowing he will get one of the games. This is about NSC. I think it's fine to go with him. Point I wanted to sort of pick up here. I've been a critic. I'll hold my hands up. I've not seen too much from him of the left back Loddy. I don't know if you've seen a great deal of him, Kev, but there's a comment here. Scarpa's gone straight into the team. He's been electric for me. And Loddy is a different player since Scarpa came to the camp. It wouldn't surprise me if I signed a Brazilian striker in June. Well, we'll have that. And then it will be just like watching Brazil, won't it? But no, I think the introduction of Scarpa seems to have brought out the best in Loddy. And of course, he seems to be part of the Danilo thing as well. So again, you'll know, Kev, playing in football teams, how important it is to have your boys around you.
And it's international as well, isn't it? That's the other thing. Communication, international, the language that they could use. I think Loddy's done pretty well since he's been in the team. But now he seems to be excelling. Why? Because maybe there's somebody there who he's just connected on the same wavelength with, on the pitch. So it does make a difference. And speak the Portuguese speaking as well. It's really important. So
what I picked up on his performance on Saturday, and I was really critical of him earlier in the season, the Leicester game in particular. It seemed like his head wasn't on it. As a fan looking in, it almost seemed like he'd given up. I'm not saying he had, but that's how it come across. But on Saturday, what I really noticed was the aggression in his game, the intent, and that comes with confidence sometimes, doesn't it? I spoke in recent weeks about Lewis O'Brien, the difference between O'Brien and Colback. O'Brien's lacking a bit of confidence, so the ball's not being zipped around. He's not the player he was at the start of the season. Whereas Colback, even though he's not been playing, there's been no reason for him not to. He's getting the ball and he's flashing it about and he's getting.
But he's the experienced one.
Yeah,
that's the difference. Colback's been there, seen it, done it. He knows what it takes. Do you know what I mean? O'Brien thinks it's every game's going to be that. No, it's not always going to be that way. So experience
that's
matters.
What I noticed from Loddy especially. So putting a bit of aggression into his game as well. We know he can put a good ball in. He's got a wonderful left foot. But it was his defensive work against Leicester for me. And he did well against Traore for Wolves, who I don't actually think is that good a player for all his pace. But that's just my personal opinion. But he did well. He's done well defensively recently. And I think that's really, really important. With the other guy, Aurora, at right back, they're two positions we've almost got nailed now after having major concerns over. And, of course, Nico can fill in and he's a good player, and he'll come. I really believe he'll come good at the end. It's really pleasing to see these type of players settling down now. And with Danilo to come in, it's almost like that Gibbs White, Lingard, Johnson thing going on, isn't it? We see the videos in the changing room and they're doing the celebrations and the bows and these things, and it just all bodes well for the team.
That's what it's about, Des. That's what it's about. Relatable players who you relate to, the fans can relate to. It's fantastic. Do you know what? Earlier on in the season, you didn't see any of that going on. Now you're starting to get that feeling. And it must be wonderful for all the Forest fans.
It's almost snowballing, isn't it? The snowball's starting to roll and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Yes.
Just a couple of comments, Kev. To hear says, evening lads, Kevin Campbell, the legend is in the house. He most definitely is. Just those comments. We always talk about this, with this guy and one or two of his mates. Give us a story from going out in Notts, Black Orchid, ISIS, or down the Lace Market.
A story. Well, I think the one of the best ones was after. You remember we played Spurs in the FA Cup and it got snowed off.
Oh yeah, I do.
Could you remember the snow was serious?
It was thick.
It was crazy. So. Obviously, the cars were all stuck at the ground and everything. So we had to get a bus. So we said to the bus, let's go to the Orchid and see if the Orchid's open. So we drove all the way to the Black Orchid. It was wide open. People were walking there, Des. Absolutely walking there. It was bouncing in there that night as well. Just crazy. That place was brilliant. Stephen, the lads there, always looked after us well. So
who was the craziest in the Black Orchid?
I don't know. It weren't who was the craziest. We just all used to get along. There weren't anybody crazy. Although Big Norm was a bit crazy.
That was the name I was looking for.
But he is a goalkeeper. Come on, he is a goalkeeper. But you know what? Big Norm he's a great lad as well. Absolute great lad. Stoney's a great lad as well. Two good characters to have in your squad.
Absolutely. And none of us will ever forget those days. That promotion lingered with us for a very, very, very long time, didn't it? And just goes to prove that we have to make the most of the last one. Let's not forget what happened last season. It took 23 years. And I've watched some absolute rubbish since then, to be honest, Kev. I've seen us get beat 5-0 at Oldham and 3-0 at Yeovil. And again, it just makes me really appreciative for what's going on at the moment.
And you know what, Des? Let me tell you this. Do you remember when we went to the game when I came up and I said, Forest, they're ready. You even got a Wembley trip out of it, Forest. Didn't you? You even got a Wembley trip.
We did it.
That must have been some day. That must have been. I know we've spoken about it, but I still want to touch on that because the work you done there has brought you here. That must have been some day for everybody.
Oh, it was incredible. You know, it was absolutely incredible from start to finish. The trains was a disaster getting down there. It was eventful to say the least. But then when everybody was in the fan parks and on Wembley Way, and to be honest, Kev, I'm sure you've been to Wembley plenty of times and seen the mixture of fans on Wembley Way, but there were no mixture of fans. It was just a sea of red all the way down. And the Huddersfield fans was walking into the stadium. And obviously I was trying to do my pitch footy stuff, trying to interview one or two of them. They said, get a few Huddersfield fans. And they weren't interested. Everyone I spoke to was like, I'm not doing that.
They're nervous. They were nervous.
You're gonna beat us anyway, you know, and that kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, we'll beat you then. We'll beat you then. Yeah. It wasn't that straightforward in the end, was it? But
no.
When that goal went in the final whistle and Mr. Dore was crying his eyes out like a baby, you know, screaming like a girl as he tends to do. It was just an incredible moment. And the celebrations, it's just a pity at times that one or two of those players didn't stay. But that's football. You know, things. You're the one who knows all about that, but we're not going to go down that road. Just one or two comments before we finish tonight. Hi, Des, Kev. Great stream from Peter. Thanks for all your input, guys. Think O'Brien and Colbert knew Danilo on his way need to step up, possibly. You know, these guys could be. Oh, just one question here. Swin's back in there. Look, last January, our main striker Graben got injured, and we had a great transfer window and never looked back. Hopefully, more of the same in Cooper we trust. Wasn't actually a question rather than a comment, but totally agree with that. You know, sometimes football's like that, isn't it, Kev? You think it's the end of the world, one result, you know, one change, one thing. I knew somebody would pick up on this.
Dawn. Did you, Des? Were you crying like a baby at Wembley, Des?
No, it was looking at Dore's eyes. It was looking at Dore's tears. It made mine kind of stream as well. So, no. Here's one as well. Dan, Forest were everywhere, Kev. It was all Forest. You're right, Des. I flew for that as well. Give us a plug. I won the Central Europe Supporters Club. That's brilliant, isn't it?
Nice one, Dan. Brilliant.
Traveling in from Central Europe. And then just one more on the celebrations there. Someone else remember the David Pleat at Coventry. But no, thanks, guys. Thanks for all your input. Thanks to Kev for joining us, taking time out of his busy schedule. You know, you see him on Sky Sports every other day, it seems at the moment, or somewhere over. So I really appreciate you coming on. It definitely helps my input into Dore's channel. So massive thanks, Kev.
Des, you're welcome. And listen, let's do it again sometime very soon, mate. Let's do it again.
I'm sure
after the next 5, maybe.
After the next 5, there's been plenty of people watching. Massive thumbs up to everybody who's watching. If you can give this episode a thumbs up before you sign out. Of course, just a reminder that Dore will be back on Friday, I believe, with his preview show for Bournemouth. He'll have a fan. Of course, there'll be the post-match reaction. Check out those, the clips after the game of us who've been there and what we thought. And then he'll have his vlog. Everybody loves the vlog, you know, and those predictions. So check that out on Sunday morning. I'm sure it's going to be another busy weekend for the man himself. But if Forest can get 3 points, it'll absolutely be worth it. And as he always says, up the Forest.
Come on, you Reds.